Germantown neighborhood, history, locations, and landmarks. So here's a Google map of Louisville, and you can see where Chips is. We're actually in the Snitzelberg neighborhood. You can see Snitzelberg listed there, and Germantown is just to the north of us here. Of course, the reason why we are here, and someone is blocking the lower left-hand corner of the screen there. I'm not sure whose arm that is. Thank you. That moved a little bit. But we are here at the Falls of the Ohio, and that's the reason why Louisville exists. And Louisville has many different neighborhoods. I always describe them by what's in the inner beltway, the inner city. That's the Waterson Expressway that confines the inner city. And then the outer suburbs, which are confined by the Gene Snyder Freeway. And Louisville has tons of neighborhoods. You can see a list of them there in alphabetical order, and there's even more than that. If your neighborhood's not listed, don't feel slighted, but it would be there. But you can see Germantown is listed. So Germantown is mainly known for its shotgun houses, and it is a working class neighborhood. And Germantown was created a lot by the German immigration back in the mid-1800s. I'm not sure if any of you have German ancestry here or not, but if you've done any genealogy, more than likely your ancestors came over in the 1840s and 1850s. I actually have German heritage, and my great-great-great-grandfather, John Jacob Weiser, came over in 1802 to America. So he was way early in the migration period. And he settled in southwest Jefferson County, owned a huge farm out there. I wish we still owned some of that farm. If you know where Dawes High School is out there, that's where the family farm was. But anyways, a lot of Germans migrated to America in the mid-1840s and 50s. And a lot of them mainly settled in the Midwest. Cincinnati, north, I know Minnesota, Wisconsin has a lot of German heritage. And then we here in Louisville are sort of at the southern boundary of where the Germans migrated to. So there's a lot of historic homes in the Germantown area. I always get asked about this house here on East St. Catherine Street. And I really did not know a whole lot about this home, but I did some research, and with the help of a few friends, we found out that it was built in 1882. And some of the history over there. And one of the things that Louisville is really good on is our historical books. Many people, almost every neighborhood more than likely has a history book that talks about that neighborhood. And likewise, this house was featured in a Germantown neighborhood book, Walks Through Germantown is what it was called. But German immigrants faced a lot of challenges back in the day. Bloody Monday, I'm not sure if most of you have heard of Bloody Monday. It was our famous immigrant riot back on August 6, 1855. And you can see the history of it there. The nativists did not like all these immigrants coming into America and taking their jobs. And someone's phone's okay. And I'm glad we've solved that problem. We no longer have an immigration problem here today, do we? But anyways, yeah, 70 some odd years ago, they had a huge Bloody Monday riot, and we just did a great talk on it at the Louisville Historical League, and there's a video up about the history of this infamous riot that affected both Catholics and Germans, and the Irish. So as noted earlier, shotguns in Germantown, they're all over the place. What is a shotgun house, you may ask? Well, a shotgun house is a very long, linear residential unit that has no interior hallways or corridors. And some people think that the term shotgun comes from that you can open the front door and shoot a shotgun all the way through the house to the very end. But if anyone knows how a shotgun works, that would never, due to the way the pellets spray out, that would never work. You would need a rifle and not a shotgun. But anyways, shotguns actually developed from West Africa. And they migrated over into the Caribbean, over into New Orleans, up the Mississippi River, up to Louisville. And we have tons of shotguns here. And the reason for them is they're extremely affordable homes, and you can build a lot of them on very small pieces of land. So here is an aerial photograph of Germantown, and look at all the shotguns that you have there. They're like, sort of like, I hate to use the word mobile homes, but they're really stacked very close together. The big white building there, I'll talk about later on, that's the Bradford Mills complex. Anyways, you can just see how many shotguns there are. And people really love the shotguns. They adapt them very easily. Here are two shotguns. These are not in Germantown, but I like these. The ones on the left are in West Louisville. You can see at the top prior to renovation, and then the lower photograph is after renovation that they've done to these. And they've done these throughout the city. In fact, driving here along Hickory Street just now, they were building two new shotguns just down the street from us here. They're still building these. But here are some shotguns in the Germantown area that have been adapted and upgraded. You can see the before photograph above and then the after down below. This one here, this is just on the edge of Germantown, the above and then the below. We think this might have been a former church that they adapted into a house. They do that a lot here in Louisville. They'll take former institutional structures and turn them into housing, and that might have happened here. I call it an extreme house makeover. And they're building new homes throughout the region here. These are in the Germantown area at Shelby and Kentucky Streets. Up above, you see a vacant lot, and then down below, you see where they built the new house. How much of these houses cost? They vary. A lot of the affordable shotguns are around $100,000 to $150,000, but I'll show you they're building some really upscale homes. I'll tell you what those cost here in a second. Now, this is a new construction. They took a vacant lot in Germantown, and they built this new house that you see there. Likewise, this one here. Now, this house just sold, this modern house. They took a vacant lot up there and they built this modern house. How much do you think that house sold for? $750,000. $750,000.
How many doors do shotgun houses generally have?
My grandfather, my grandparents lived in a shotgun house, and they just probably had 2 or 3 doors, the bathroom door and the bedroom doors.
No, because we have a Camelback one, and it's got like 2 on the side.
Oh, you're talking about the exterior doors.
Right.
Right. Yeah, if you have a side porch and a back door, maybe 3 doors at most. But anyways, this is a modern house that was just built and went for $750,000. It really upped the property values in this area, didn't it? Yeah. Here are some homes as well, just modern homes. These were built not very far from here on Shelby Parkway. One of them just sold. I don't know the amount, but I'm sure it was over $500,000.
So if those houses are that expensive, what is the cost of the house next to it?
Well, its property value just went up significantly. Their taxes just went up, yes. Yeah, when I bought my first house, which was more of a cottage style house, it wasn't a shotgun. My first house that I bought in 1981 cost $30,000. That was, what, 40 years ago. I just looked at what it's selling for now, $200,000. So the pricing value has gone up dramatically. And I always tell the younger generation, I was at a University of Louisville class not long ago. And most of the younger adults, if you know, live in apartments. They don't buy real estate or own real estate. And I looked at them and I said, you guys are nuts. You need to be buying these homes now. Yeah, they are expensive. I mean, when I bought my house at $30,000, I couldn't sleep at night. Oh my gosh, $30,000. When I sold it for $90,000. So real estate, one of my mentors was David Jones of Humana. And David Jones told me a great story that he goes, Steve, I don't understand the stock market. It keeps going up and down, up and down. I don't understand. He goes, I know real estate, it always goes up. So he bought as much real estate out along the Gene Snyder Freeway as he did. So real estate always goes up. Yes, it's very expensive. The current house that I own, I bought it for $90,000 in the Reedlawn neighborhood 35 years ago, and now will list over $600,000
Yeah.
when I sell it. When my heirs, when my $2, I keep telling my $2 that that's their inheritance. But anyways, yeah, my next moving company is Arch L. Hetty, and that's a Louisville gentleman. Anyways, speaking of real estate, here's a great success story here. This is the Germantown Mill Lofts. This is where a lot of the young adults live here in the Germantown area. Jeff Underhill, a good friend of mine, bought the old Louisville cotton mill, turned it into loft apartments. It's spectacular. If you've not seen it, it's off Goss Avenue. It's beautiful. Along Goss, you see the warehouse side of it, but if you drive back around the other side, you see it's just beautiful what they have done with this.
Didn't that used to be the Goss Antiques?
Yes, Goss
back years
Antiques.
ago?
Yeah, they used to have antique malls here in these. And the Bradford Mill Lofts, that's the one that I mentioned earlier that was in the midst of all those shotguns. They've also turned that into residential. And then the Hope Worsted Mills, which is at East Kentucky Street. It's not been renovated. It's a lot more artist and studio type space right now. They've not really converted it yet to residential, but it more than likely will at some point. So some of the landmarks here in Germantown, this is again in Snitzelburg, which we're in, but right across the street from Czechs here is the Catholic Church of St. Elizabeth's. It's just diagonal to us where we're at. And it was designed by Fred Earhart, who I'll mention here shortly. That's Fred's original design of it there on the left. You can see the lower part mimics what he did, but the spires are different. But Fred, he was born in 1871, died in 1951. He was from Germany, and he did a lot of German-related architecture here in Louisville. You can see some of his history there. On the right side, that's his gravesite there in St. Michael's Cemetery, which I will speak about here very shortly. But Fred did a lot of German-related architecture because being from Germany, he knew the culture, and he more than likely spoke German, which helps a lot when you're communicating with clients of a similar nature. He designed St. Therese, which is another spectacular landmark in the heart of Germantown on Schiller Street. Here's some of the interior photographs of it. There it is. Not sure if anyone's been to St. Therese, but it's spectacular on the interior. There's some pictures of it there. We had a Louisville Historical League event there earlier this year. He also did St. Joseph's Orphanage. Anyone go to St. Joe's Festival this fall, just recently? And he designed the orphanage there. And if you'll notice, if you read some of the text there, it was founded by German-American Catholics. And then the Ursuline sisters were involved in St. Joe's. And I'll talk about the Ursulines here shortly. Speaking of the Ursulines, Ursuline Chapel, Fred Earhart designed this. It's off Lexington Road there. If any of you have been to Sacred Heart Catholic School, where my daughter went to school, it's right adjacent. And I think the Ursulines were teachers there at Sacred Heart as well. There's the chapel. Spectacular, but Fred did that. Here's some of the interior photographs of the chapel. And here it is under construction, and this is in 1917. What was happening in the 1917? World War I. And who were we fighting? The Germans. And at the very top, you see the American flag being hoisted up there at the very top of that spire? The person at the very top is Fred Earhart. He was the architect. He was very proud of America, and he supported America in its war against his home country, Germany. Okay, St. Michael's Cemetery, which I referenced earlier. It's a cemetery just adjacent here to the south of Germantown. It's an old Catholic cemetery. Here's the layout of it. It's not very difficult to follow. I take it you all have all been to Cave Hill Cemetery and realize how difficult it is to get around Cave Hill. By the way, I was the original docent of Cave Hill. I know where all the bodies are buried at Cave Hill. And I also know where all the bodies are buried here at St. Michael's as well. But it's a very flat cemetery, easy to navigate around if you ever want to go there. It's a beautiful cemetery. Here are some of the images from it, what it looks like, very flat. Not like Cave Hill. By the way, Cave Hill is misnamed. One cave, many hills. And as noted, the Ursulines, they were connected to Germany and they're all buried here at St. Michael's Cemetery. And a whole listing of them there. And the most famous resident of St. Michael's is Victor Mature. He lived in Shelby Park neighborhood, which is adjacent here to Germantown, not very far from where we're at Jackson and Camp Street. Very famous actor.
Yeah.
That's his gravesite up there with the angel bent over it. And then in the right-hand corner, that's his daughter, Victoria Mature. That was his daughter. And we were doing a tour of St. Michael's with the Louisville Historical League. This was about 10 or so years ago. And she just shows up. Somehow she found out about our tour, came and gave a great talk about her dad. And Victor Mature is very unexpected and great talk. Now Fred also, not only did he design the Ursuline Chapel, but he also designed the chapel in St. Michael's Cemetery. Can you tell the relationship there? Unfortunately, it wasn't built that well. You can see it there in the lower right-hand corner. It was demolished back a number of years ago, so it no longer exists. But Fred did that also. So again, he did a lot of German-related architecture. This is more Snitzelberg than it is Germantown, but one of the cultural things that they do here is dainty competition. I'm not sure if y'all heard about the dainty. It's a block of wood. I've never been to it. I've seen it on TV, but it's a big event when they hold here once a year in the Snitzelberg, Germantown area at Hock's Corner Store, which has been tremendously renovated in the last year or so, and it's really improved. Now then, there's an alley here called Steve Magre Alley. You can see it named there. So why would they name an alley Steve Magre Alley? Well, it's for Steve Magre. And Steve, I call him the mayor of Germantown. I've known Steve for over 50 years. He has always lived on Ramler's Avenue here in Germantown with his wife Judy. He was a long time alderman of Louisville, then they changed it to councilman, and he was a councilman from Germantown. Still very active. I email with Steve on a regular basis on various things. He is just a great friend of Germantown. We at the Louisville Historical League gave him an award not too long ago for all of his dedication to this area and the improvements of it. There he is talking in St. Therese Church to our group. Very good guy. So there we are again back at Check's Cafe. There's Check's. It's changed a little bit over the years. It used to look like this.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they've updated it a bit. And it's changed even more when you see the next photograph. That's what Check's used to look like.
Wow.
It was an A&P grocery store. Back in the late 1930s, it says. So that's it. Hope that brief history of Germantown was of value to you and gave you a little glimpse at this unique neighborhood here. If you're interested in any books, see me afterwards. Check it out on YouTube tomorrow. Any questions?
I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that the shotgun houses were so popular because as they were building them, you pay taxes on the frontage of your property instead of the property.
Everyone's heard that story, and everyone has researched that story, and it's not true. Now, it is true, though, that it's very small, a very small property. And so you're paying very less taxes because of very small property. I know camelbacks, they say, well, the camelback, by the way, is a 1.5 story shotgun. It's the pop up there on the back of a shotgun. They call those camelbacks. They say, well, that's the reason why they did camelbacks. Again, not true. We all of us historians, preservationists, we've all heard those stories. We've all tried to verify that. And it's just folklore is all we can say. In fact, I was just looking at a book on Louisville, and some author put it in a book that was the reason. It's like, huh? So it's in books even that's like that. But we've all dug into it. New Orleans, for what it's worth, is the home of shotguns. They say now that Katrina happened in 2005, that now Louisville has more shotguns since a lot of them were wiped out in New Orleans. But even New Orleans people say they can't verify that it was a tax incentive to do shotguns. It was just a very affordable, easy to construct, fast to build, low property for the working class.
Right. But why were they called shotguns?
It was
has nothing to do with
it was an African term. It was an African term. I'm not sure how you actually spell shot. Well, I call it like you spell it like the gun, but I don't think that's how you spell it in Africa. Shotgun was just the style of the house, but it's an African term. Shotgun is. So.
Talking about the area, you showed all the cotton mill places that have been converted. Do you think there's anything in the books at all in the works for the old flour mill, that was Ballard Mills, Logan?
Well, I know there's some remnant. Well, now there's several things over there. Now the actual Ballard flour mill no longer exists. It all burned back in the 70s. There are some remnants of other industrial type structures.
Those buildings are still there. They look horrible.
Yeah, there's some that are not, but that area is slowly evolving. You know, Paristown is right adjacent there, and Paristown has undergone a revitalization the last few years. I know some of the people that own some of that East Broadway property, and they're hoping that that redevelopment will come their way. By the way, Broadway was just a spectacular street back in the 1930s and 40s. It was where all the rich lived, all the wealthy lived along Broadway. If you go back and look at some of the history books of Louisville and look at what the mansions that were along Broadway, which only a few of them now exist, but urban renewal back in the 1950s and 60s, for whatever reason, wiped all that out. Now Broadway is not what it used to be. But if you can just think of all the wealth that we demolished during urban renewal, with those beautiful mansions, spectacular. All the wealthy lived along Broadway, and they're all since gone. But we hope that revitalization will extend into East Broadway, into that area, Logan Street. I know they're getting ready to do the old Finzer Ice House over here off Logan. They're going to build, renovate it. It's about a 13, 14-story pile of bricks right now, and they're going to renovate that into residential units that will help as well. But yeah, hopefully that will happen. It started. It takes time. Other questions like that? Yes.
On the shotgun house, I noticed the living room is in the front part, and the kitchen and the bath is in the back. Does that mean you have to walk through the bedrooms, or how many bedrooms are?
No. Now what you normally do is in my grandfather's house, where you have go into the living room, then the dining room, then the kitchen, and the bedrooms were off the dining room.
Okay, well that picture had the kitchen in the back.
I'd have to go back and look at it. But yeah, the kitchen was in the back. So you go living room, dining room, kitchen, but the bedroom was on the side of the dining room. So the dining room acted as your hallway. You had to walk through the dining room to get to the kitchen, or off to the side to get to the bedroom.
See, we also heard that since there were no internal hallways, people use the outside as a hallway. So
The exterior of the house? Yeah.
Because you go from one door to another, and some people even rented out the front room, or the parlor or living room, and and then you had your dining room, another room you could rent out, and all that.
Yeah, my grandparents' house, it was a 2-bedroom shotgun, but they had 4 kids. So figure how they did that back in those days.
They converted the dining room into
Bedrooms.
bedrooms. My aunt and uncle did, because they had 4 kids. So they put the boy in the back room next to the kitchen. They took the dining room, and the girls were in the upstairs in the loft.
Yeah, then they would do the camelback. They would add the upper room for the other kids. Agreed.